I worked as a guide in the Appalachians for the last 10 years. People think the Appalachian Mountains are beautiful. They are. That's part of the problem. Beauty makes people careless. It makes them stop listening. It makes them think the world is gentler than it really is. I've worked as a guide in those mountains for the last 10 years. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. The wilderness doesn't kill you because it hates you. It kills you because it doesn't care. And there are things in those woods that care even less. When tourists book a guided trail through the deeper parts of the mountains, they usually expect the same speech. Stay hydrated. Watch your footing. Don't feed the bears. That kind of thing. I give them a different speech. I give them rules. I don't smile when I do it. I don't make jokes. And I make every person in the group look me in the eye before we leave the trailhead. Because I want to know which ones are going to get me killed trying to save them. Most people think I'm exaggerating. The ones who survive stop thinking that. By nightfall. The worst group I ever took out came during spring break 4 years ago. 6 college kids from Florida, all of them loud in their own way, all of them carrying too much confidence and not enough sense. There was Jason, broad-shouldered and smug, the kind of guy who treated every warning like a challenge. Anna was his girlfriend, sharp, pretty, too tense around Ryan for Jason not to notice. Ryan was Anna's ex, and one look at him told me he was the type who thought rules were for other people. Ashley was Anna's best friend, the kind of girl who documented everything with her phone and laughed before anyone else could. Brittany was Ryan's girlfriend, quiet and brittle around the edges like she was already tired of apologizing for him. Then there was Nick. Nick was the only one who listened. Quiet guy. Watchful, polite. The only one who looked at the tree line like he understood there might be something in it, looking back. I should have turned the whole group away the second. Ryan laughed at my face. Instead, I gave them the rules, not the soft version, the real version. I remember them exactly because I've repeated them in my sleep ever since. The 15 rules. I stood at the trailhead while wind moved through the trees above us and said, "Before we start, you need to understand something. These mountains have rules. I didn't make them. I just learned what happens when people break them." Ashley snorted. Jason grinned. Ryan smirked. Nick was already paying attention. So I started. Rule 1. Never say anyone's full name in the woods. If something hears it, it may keep it. Rule 2. Never whistle. Not once. Not as a joke. Not to get someone's attention. Rule 3. Do not hum, sing, or repeat any tune you hear out there. If the woods answer back, don't answer them. Rule 4. Never leave the main trail. Not for a shortcut. Not for a better picture. Not because you saw something interesting between the trees. Rule 5. Never travel after nightfall. If the sun goes down before you reach camp, start praying nothing noticed. Rule 6. If someone calls your name from the woods, do not answer. I don't care if it sounds like your mother, your best friend, or me. Rule 7. If you hear your own voice from somewhere you are not standing, keep walking. Do not turn toward it. That got a few uneasy looks. I kept going. Rule 8. Never eat anything you did not bring with you. If you smell food in the dark, it isn't for you. Rule 9. Take nothing from the forest. No bones, no feathers, no antlers, no stones stacked by hand, no bundles tied with twine, no coins nailed into trees. Leave only footprints. Rule 10. If the woods go quiet, stop talking. Something nearby has made everything else decide silence is safer. Rule 11. If you see a deer watching you and it doesn't run, don't look it in the eyes. And if it stands up, you do not run. You back away. By then, nobody was smiling. I raised another finger. Rule 12. If one of us appears on the trail ahead of the group when you know they were behind you, that is not one of us. Ashley gave a shaky laugh. Seriously? Yes. I didn't blink. Rule 13. If you smell smoke, perfume, or cooking meat when there shouldn't be any, don't follow it. That scent isn't meant to comfort you. It's meant to separate you. And Rule 14. If you hear a woman crying in the distance after sunset, cover your flashlight and stay close. Do not go looking for her. Ryan frowned. So we just leave someone out there? If you hear it after sunset, it isn't someone. Then I gave them the last one. The one that usually makes people decide whether they're going to listen or spend the rest of their lives wishing they had. Rule 15. If I tell you to run, do not ask why, and do not look back. Nobody said anything for a second. Then Jason laughed and said, "What is this? Some Blair Witch cosplay?" Ryan actually clapped once, slow and mocking. Nick was still quiet. Brittany looked uncomfortable. Anna glanced at the trees, and Ashley, of course, lifted her phone and said, "Okay, wait, I need to record this part." I stepped forward and lowered the phone with 2 fingers. No filming the rules. She blinked. Why? Because I said so. That answer bothered her. Good. Some things should bother people. We started up the trail after that, and for the first few hours the mountains behaved like mountains. Damp earth, new spring leaves, birdsong, the scent of pine and rain. Enough beauty to make everybody loosen up again. That was the problem. By noon, Ashley was filming every overlook and tree trunk like she was making a travel vlog. Jason and Ryan kept trying to one-up each other. Nick stayed near the middle of the group and actually watched where he stepped. Brittany kept close to Ryan, but he barely noticed. He was too busy glancing at Anna whenever Jason looked away. You learn to read tension fast when you guide people in isolated places. Bad weather, bad footing, and bad relationships all turn dangerous in the woods. And that group had all the makings of trouble before the sky even changed, because it did change. Late afternoon, the light shifted. Not darker exactly, thinner. The kind of change only people who spend time outdoors notice at first. Birds slowed. Wind dropped. The air turned cooler in pockets. The trail narrowed beneath a stand of hemlocks that swallowed sound. That was when I started feeling watched. Not by a person, by the woods themselves. We made camp on a ridge with a decent fire ring and enough visibility that I could see movement coming from most directions. I had them pitch their tents close together. No one complained. Even Jason had gone a little quieter by then. While I checked the perimeter, I heard Ashley humming behind me. Soft, absent-minded, some half-remembered tune. I turned so fast she actually jumped. "Stop." She stared at me. "What?" "No humming." She rolled her eyes. "Seriously?" "Yes." Jason laughed into his beer. "Come on, man." Nick didn't laugh. Brittany didn't either. Ashley threw up her hands. "Fine." We sat around the fire after dark, eating trail food and listening to Ryan try to tell some stupid story about a frat house prank. Nobody was really paying attention. The woods felt wrong, like they were waiting for us to finish talking. Then we heard it, a tune. 4 notes, thin and airy and wrong, from the trees behind Ashley's tent. Same melody she'd been humming. Nobody moved. The tune came again, a little slower this time. Ashley's face drained white. "That's not funny," she whispered. No one answered. The 3rd time, the tune came from somewhere farther to the left, deeper in the woods, too quickly for footsteps to have carried it there. Then all at once, the entire forest went silent. No insects, no wind, nothing. I stood slowly. "Everyone inside the light," I said. Ryan gave a nervous chuckle. Okay, who's messing with us? No one answered him either. The tune came one last time, very close now, from beyond the tree line where the firelight couldn't reach. Then it stopped. That should have been warning enough. It wasn't. We put the fire up high. I told them no one wandered off alone, no bathroom trips without waking me, no ignoring the rules just because they hadn't seen anything yet. Jason muttered something about me loving the drama, but his voice had lost its edge. Around midnight, Anna screamed. I was awake before the sound finished leaving her mouth. She stumbled out of the tent, white-faced, one hand clenched around Jason's wrist so tightly her knuckles were pale. "There's someone outside," she whispered. Someone was talking. Then I heard it. Her voice. From the trees. "Jason." Every eye turned to Anna. She shook her head violently. "That wasn't me." The voice came again. "Jason, come here." Same pitch, same breathiness, same little catch on the end of the sentence. Jason stood up so fast he nearly knocked the cooler over. "What the hell?" Nick was out of his tent in seconds. Ryan and Brittany followed. Ashley zipped her tent open halfway and just stared. Then the voice came again, farther left, moving through the woods without the sound of movement. "Jason." Jason stepped toward the darkness. I grabbed his shoulder. "No. It sounds like her." "It isn't." Anna clung harder to him. "Jason, don't." Then the thing in the woods laughed. In Anna's voice, low, soft, cruel. Jason froze. I reached into my pack, struck a road flare, and the world turned blood red. For 1 second, the trees glowed with enough light to show us what was standing between them. It had a man's shape the way a scarecrow has a man's shape, close enough to mimic, wrong enough to revolt. Its arms hung too long. Its shoulders were narrow beneath skin that didn't fit right. Its legs bent backward. Its fingers were thin and jointed wrong. And its face. God, its face. It was like something had pulled a wet human face over an animal skull and tied it behind the head. Its eyes reflected gold red in the flare light. Its mouth opened too wide. And in Anna's voice it whispered again, "Jason." Jason made a broken little sound and tried to step back. The creature jerked sideways, too fast for my eyes to follow cleanly, then vanished between the trees in a snap of branches. The whole camp stayed frozen for a full 3 seconds after it disappeared. Then Ashley started crying. Ryan backed away from the tree line like it might lunge after him. Brittany sat down hard by the fire without meaning to. Anna buried her face in Jason's shoulder, and Jason didn't say a single word. Nick was the only one who looked at me and asked quietly, "What was that?" Something that learned her voice. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. None of us really did. You'd think morning would have fixed something. It didn't. Daylight helps you lie to yourself, but it doesn't erase what you saw in the dark. By sunrise, the group was wrecked. Ashley wouldn't stop checking the tree line. Jason stayed too close to Anna. Brittany looked like she hadn't breathed right since midnight. Ryan had gone mean in the way scared people sometimes do, snappish and defensive and embarrassed by his own fear. Only Nick stayed steady. We broke camp early. I wanted them off that ridge before something else decided to test the boundaries. The fog rolled in not long after we started down, thick enough to soften the trees into shapes rather than trunks. The trail narrowed. Twice I caught the scent of wood smoke where there should have been none. That should have put me on edge faster than it did. Then Ashley stopped short and pointed. "There's a deer." It stood 30 yards off the trail, half hidden by saplings. At first glance, that's all it was. A deer. Brown hide. White undertail. Stillness. Then I saw the eyes. Too forward. Too fixed. It wasn't grazing, wasn't startled, wasn't acting like prey. It was studying us. "Keep walking," I said. Jason squinted at it. "It's just a deer." "No," Nick said quietly. "It's not. Bless him for that." We kept moving. The deer moved too, pacing us through the trees. No sound. No crack of branch or rustle of leaves. Just flashes of hide between the trunks. Ashley reached for her phone. I slapped her hand down so hard she yelped. "What the hell?" "Do not invite its attention. It's already looking at us." "Yes," I said, "and I'd like to keep it curious instead of interested." A few more steps and we all saw it change. Not fully. Just enough. The deer lifted higher than it should have, forelegs rising in a stiff, almost upright motion before it settled again. Brittany let out a choked gasp. Ryan swore under his breath. The thing watched us another long second. Then it turned and slipped into the fog. No one called it a deer after that. The fight started about an hour later. Fear does that. It curdles into anger when people have nowhere safe to put it. Ryan started with Jason. Some low comment about Anna acting too close, for comfort, after last night. Jason lunged verbally, then physically. Anna snapped at both of them. Brittany finally lost patience and accused Ryan of still being obsessed with Anna. Ashley told everyone to shut up. The whole thing turned into a tense, ugly circle of half-shouted accusations right there on the trail. I tried to stop it. Too late. The scream cut through the woods so sharply it felt like it tore the silence open. A woman. Far off, but not far enough. A raw, desperate, human scream. Everyone shut up. "Stay on the trail," I said immediately. "No flashlights, no turning toward it." Ryan had already turned. "Someone needs help." "No," Anna said. "Ryan." He yanked his flashlight up and swung the beam into the trees. Two yellow eyes opened in the dark, high off the ground. Too high. Not reflection, not shine. Eyes. They blinked once. Then the thing they belonged to moved. It uncoiled from a low branch and dropped to the forest floor, with a sound too heavy for any normal cat. Brittany screamed and grabbed Ryan's arm. He stumbled backwards so hard, he nearly fell off the trail. The creature circled just outside the fog, huge and quiet, letting us catch only pieces of it. Long tail, black striped flank, low shoulders, a face that looked almost human and then not at all depending on the angle. "Back up," I said, slowly. The scream came again from somewhere behind us this time. Ashley started sobbing. Nick took Brittany by the hand and kept her moving. Jason put himself in front of Anna. Ryan finally went pale enough to look honest. I fired a flare above the trail. The red light caught the creature on a boulder uphill. Big as a panther, maybe bigger. Fur dark and thick, eyes burning, and a face wrong enough to live in nightmares. Then it leapt away. "Move," I said. This time everyone listened. We kept going until the light was too weak to trust, which meant Rule 5 had already been broken whether we wanted it or not. I found the best campsite I could under the circumstances. A cramped clearing near an old game path I didn't like but couldn't avoid. I set lanterns around the camp and fed the fire hard. Then I repeated the rules again. Nobody leaves the light. Nobody follows any sound. Nobody eats anything they didn't bring. That last one got Ryan's attention because not 20 minutes after dark, the smell began. Warm food, real food, ribs, charred fat, sweet sauce, cornbread, butter. It came drifting through the trees so naturally my stomach clenched with want before my brain could protest. Ashley whispered, "Oh my God, do you smell that?" "Yes," I said. "And you ignore it." Ryan laughed, but there was desperation in it now. "There's got to be another campsite nearby." "There isn't." "How do you know?" "Because there isn't." He stood anyway. Brittany reached for his sleeve. "Ryan, please." He jerked free. "I'm not starving all night because you people want to play haunted forest." He crossed the lantern line before I could stop him. The smell thickened immediately. Then a voice floated from the dark. "Ryan." Anna went rigid. It was her voice. Then from farther out, "Ryan." Brittany's voice. Then Ashley's. Then mine. From 3, 4, 5 different points around the trees. Ryan stopped dead. Something moved between the trunks. Not one thing. Several. One tall and narrow. One low and animal. One crouched wrong. One standing too still. "Get back here," I said. He turned toward my voice. Then toward the identical voice speaking from behind him. "Ryan," it said again in Anna's tone this time. Tender and familiar. He hesitated. That was all it needed. It hit him from the side, fast enough that I barely tracked the shape before he was on the ground screaming. I fired instinctively. The shot cracked through camp and the thing over him recoiled into the dark. But not before I saw its outline, human and animal mixed together under borrowed skin. Ryan crawled backward, wild-eyed, jacket torn. Nick and I dragged him across the lantern line just as something in the woods began laughing. The laugh changed voices as it went. Anna to Ashley, to Brittany to me. All wrong in tiny ways. All deliberate. Then from farther out came the low whistle of that same 4-note tune. And from somewhere uphill a woman screamed again. All three were out there. Skinwalker, mimic, wampus cat, maybe more. The fire kept them back enough to keep us alive, but not enough to let us rest. That entire night they circled us. Something whistled from one side of camp and answered from another. Something cried in a little girl's voice from beyond Brittany's tent. Once, I heard my own voice from the darkness say, very clearly, "It's safe now." No one moved. Good. Near dawn, the sounds thinned. Birds began again, hesitant at first. We packed and left at first light. Ryan had changed. That's what bothered me most. Not the scratch on his shoulder. Not the torn jacket. The silence. Ryan had been arrogant, loud, constantly trying to win social space from everyone else. After the attack, he barely spoke at all. When he did, he sounded a little distracted, like part of him was listening to something the rest of us couldn't hear. Brittany noticed, too. I could tell by the way she kept looking at him. We were close to the Ranger Road when Ashley stopped. Her phone. She'd left it behind somewhere, maybe the second camp, maybe the first. She turned in a small, frantic circle and said, "I heard it." "Heard what?" "My ringtone." I felt the cold hit my spine before she finished. Then, from the laurel thicket to our left, my voice said, "Ashley, I found your phone." Perfect. Too perfect. Ashley took one step toward the brush. Nick grabbed her so hard he nearly pulled her off her feet. Something pale and narrow lunged out of the thicket right where she'd been headed. This one wasn't big like the other things. That almost made it worse. Long, white limbs. Joints bent wrong. Face smooth in places a face shouldn't be smooth. Mouth split too wide and packed with teeth too small and too many. It hit the trail, jerked its head toward us, and in my voice whispered almost wistfully, "So close." Then it vanished back into the brush. Ashley started screaming and could not stop. Nick stayed with her until she could stand again. We made it to the Ranger Road before noon. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt dread. The woods had gone too quiet again. That was when Anna stopped walking and stared across the road. A girl stood there, barefoot. Mud on her clothes, hair tangled, college-aged, crying. Please," she whispered. "Please help me." Jason moved immediately. I put an arm in front of him. "She's real," he snapped. No." The girl lifted her face. It was almost right. Almost. but there was no panic in the eyes, just expectation. "Please," she said again. Down the road behind us, something started whistling. 4 notes, slow, patient, and from deeper in the woods to the right, a woman screamed. At the same time, from the underbrush to our left, my own voice said, "Run!" Everything happened at once after that. Ashley cried out. Brittany clutched Nick's arm. Anna yelled Jason's name. The girl by the roadside smiled too wide. And Ryan turned toward the screaming woman in the trees. "Ryan!" Brittany shrieked. He looked at us once, not panicked, not confused, just blank. Then he walked off the road and into the woods. Not ran. Walked. Like someone answering a call they'd already agreed to. I went after him. Of course I did. I got maybe 15 feet in before the forest changed. That's the only way I can explain it. The trees felt closer. The air smelled like blood and smoke. The light thinned to something gray and dirty. Ahead of me, I could see Ryan's back between the trunks. Then I saw something step beside him. It wore his shape exactly. Same jacket, same shoulders, same haircut. The real Ryan never looked back. The thing beside him did. And it smiled at me with too many teeth. I fired. Both shapes vanished into the trees. Behind me, the whistle stopped. Then came a growl, low and close enough to shake my ribs. I backed out of the woods without looking away. That was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Brittany was screaming his name by the time I got back to the road. I grabbed her and forced the whole group toward the station. No one argued. No one even cried loudly anymore. Shock had replaced fear. We got inside the ranger station just before the first knock came at the door. 3 slow taps. Then my voice from the porch. "Open up." Nick shut the blinds without being told. A minute later came Brittany's voice, then Anna's, then Ryan's, soft and calm and smiling through the wood. "Guys, it's me. Open the door." Brittany broke then, full sobbing, shaking so hard Nick had to hold her upright. I kept the rifle pointed at the door until sunrise. Nothing got in, but Ryan never came back. Not really. Search parties went out 2 days later after weather cleared enough to make it safe. They found tracks. 1 set of boot prints leading deep into the woods. Then a second identical set alongside them. After that, nothing. No body. No torn clothes, no blood. Nothing. Brittany dropped out before the next semester started. Ashley stopped filming her life after that trip. Anna and Jason didn't last the summer. Nick sent me a postcard 6 months later. No return address. Just 1 sentence written in block letters. I still don't whistle. I pinned it above my desk. Sometimes, late at night, when the fog gets thick around the station, I hear footsteps on the porch. 3 slow knocks. And Ryan's voice, soft as ever, on the other side of the door. "Hey man, I think I'm lost." I'll never answer, because whatever came out of those woods wearing his voice already had its chance. And because Rule 16, the one I never tell the tourists, is this: if the mountains take someone, do not let them come back.